Welcome back to Southern Character, where we share true life stories of grit and grace from authentic individuals who follow their compass. I'm your host, James Lewis. I'm here with my beautiful bride, Amanda Henson, co-chair of Team Chaos. And today we are down in Charleston, South Carolina, the Holy City, on Market Street, with the founder and CEO of Empire Oyster and Raw Lab, Kevin Joseph. Kev, thanks for sitting down with us today.
Thanks for coming to Charleston.
Man, you don't have to twist my arm too hard to come anywhere. So I know you have a lot going on today, and we're going to be respectful of your time. If you can hear the ambiance in the background, we do have a guitar player in the courtyard who's going to serenade us as we speak. But yeah, I just want to dive into it with you. Amanda and I actually experienced the Raw Lab experience last night, but before we go there, even though that's where I want to spend most of our time today, I just want to get a little flavor and background on you, where you're from, and how'd you end up in Charleston, South Carolina from East Hampton, New York?
Oh, that's a long trip. So my hometown is East Hampton because I moved there when I was 1, left when I was 9, so, first and second grade. But I didn't really grow up there. My parents were living in Vail, Colorado when my dad decided to buy a restaurant in Breckenridge. In the spring of 1970, and they moved over there that spring from Vail. My mother was pregnant with me, and I was born in Fairplay, Colorado that winter, December 11th. 9,990 feet. Conceived in Vail, born in Fairplay. Whole job done above 8,000 feet, which explains some things. And then my grandparents had a restaurant in Montauk, and they said, why don't you come back with the kids, my older brother and I, and we were buying a old pizza place restaurant in East Hampton. You guys could run it, and we could be near our grandkids, and so they did that. So then they got divorced in 1979, and I moved to South Florida with my mom and brother, southeast Florida, and then southwest Florida because my grandmother left Montauk and moved to Bonita Springs and opened a restaurant in 77, and it boomed. And
so what kind of restaurant?
It was a seafood restaurant, and on the water on Bonita Beach, and it just crushed it for like 25 years. And she's my inspiration. She's my best friend. I think about her every day. She's my angel. And she was a little 5'2" Napolitana who came to America in 19-something.
From where?
From Naples, Italy.
Okay.
And moved to Naples, Florida, ironically, right? And so my first job was at that restaurant, peeling shrimp and washing dishes in the summer.
So when we were texting, you said that she was a combination of Genghis Khan and Napoleon. I was like,
yeah.
Give us a little more.
Feared. She was referred to only as the Mrs.
Okay. To
refer to her otherwise would incur her wrath.
So you grew up in the restaurant business, basically working with your grandmother? Is that
I was when I was 13, I moved to New York to live with my father and stepmother.
Okay.
And so I would come and go in the summers, work at the restaurant, and then I went to college and waited tables and bus tables and in and out of it, but very casually.
But you went to college in Boulder.
I went to Boulder, yeah. And never really thought I'd be in the restaurant business, and I'm still not. I'm in the raw bar business, which we'll get to what the difference is.
Yes.
But 20 years in Colorado, little of this, little of that, a lot of entrepreneurialism.
Professional ski instructor?
I was a professional ski instructor in Vail, and only ever part-time.
Okay.
I took 1 year off from school. My parents thought I'd never go back and be a ski bum, so like 1992-3, I took a full year off to get residency in Colorado for much cheaper tuition, so I taught that year full-time in Keystone, and then when I started teaching again, it was part-time in Vail, which was great because the sister resort was St. Moritz, and I speak some German, so the Swiss and Austrian and German guys that were in Vail, I would hang out and party with them, and you speak 3 words of German to somebody from those 3 countries, and they realize you're not typical American, and so we became really good friends, and one of them went back to Switzerland, and I said, hey, I'd love to teach in Switzerland. Is that possible? He's like, no, they don't hire Americans. I said, well, ask around. I speak German. I can ski, and I can teach, and I have the highest level of certification. So He did, and in the morning of 9/11, he called me at 6 a.m. and said, "I got you a job in St. Moritz." I was like, "Holy shit!" And I froze, and I was like, "Should I do this? Like, should I, to teach in Europe as an American, that just is on. It's just not doesn't happen. Australians do it, sometimes, but just they don't hire Americans." So I hung up the phone, couldn't fall back asleep, got up, turned the TV on, and watched the second tower fall, and I was like, "I'm going to do this." Yeah. So I went and did it, and it was great. So after that, I went back to Colorado. That was 2001, obviously, and taught here and there, and then that was it. But teaching skiing at the highest level, private lessons to high net worth individuals, helps you to become fluent in high net worth individual language and what they need, and taking care of them and creating value for them, and looking after them in a way that for me was fun. And so that's what I do now too, a lot of the time. And I think they like talking to a service provider that's been some places and done some things and traveled and has some experiences, and as opposed to just because half the time you're skiing, 3/4 of the time you're skiing, you're on a chairlift, you're talking, and if it's nice to have someone that they can talk with. So, and I always liked learning from them. They were always successful people, interesting people. So a lot of ski teaching, which informs my ethic for how to take care of those types of people.
Right. So from there, how did you end up as the National Sales and Marketing Director for Blue Island Oyster Company in Sayville? Was that the next transition?
Moved back to New York in 2010 because my dad needed help. My stepmother, sister, and his brother, my uncle, had all died in the in between January and May of that year, and he was next. I mean, he was days away from. He wasn't eating. He was smoking 3 packs a day and drinking 20 drinks. He was depressed and exhausted and destroyed. My brother was also destroyed because he worked at Lehman Brothers, and so his whole world had just imploded, and he was in no condition to be of any help to my dad. So I moved back and got my dad up into the lake house and cleaned it up, and because no one had been there for 18 months because my mother had brain cancer. My stepmother had brain cancer, so he was going, and they weren't going to the country. She was in the hospital, basically, and in hospice. And so I took care of him, got him back to health, cleaned up the apartment in the city, got it sold, and then while I was doing all of that, that was basically my full-time job. And I was sort of dreaming one day, looking out the window, watching a video about oyster restoration in New York Harbor, and I started thinking about oysters and their role in the ecosystem. And also I had noticed through Facebook at the time that there were a lot of people asking questions and making statements about oysters, and I saw what was happening with oysters at that time to be exactly like what I had watched wine do in the decade or two prior to that, where the American consumer was getting very curious about wine, and they were getting informed and educated by sommeliers who were bringing awareness and value and education to the consumer. And I said, this is what's about to happen with oysters. And I was exactly right. So I didn't know it at the time, but 2011, I started New York Oyster Week with a group of people, friends in New York, and we started producing events in New York City, and it was a success. And right away, honestly, it was a positioning tool. I was faking it before I was making it, but there was no one to make it. There was no leader. There was no thought leader in oysters. There was nowhere to go for information about the differences between various oysters, or the history, as I say, the history, culture, cuisine, economy, and ecology of oysters. Very limited amount. That sound is Sandy. Cracking lobsters. No, crack away. It's good. It's perfect ambiance. We're prepping.
We should mention that you're prepping for this evening.
Yeah, we're sitting in our 242 square foot raw bar, and
she's cracking lobster tails.
Yeah,
lobster.
We're prepping. So that's perfect. What the hell was I saying? So
Oyster Week.
So we did that, and immediately I was, people were referring to me vaingloriously as the Oyster King of New York. I was not, but I was like, I had an epiphany. I'm like, oh, this worked.
Yeah.
I positioned myself as this, and it's working. And then the first person who wrote us a check to build a website as a sponsor for New York Oyster Week was Blue Island Oyster Company, and he asked me if I would come work for him, and I did. and that allowed me to go travel around the country and the continent, buying oysters, selling oysters, doing events, training chefs, training restaurants. And that really taught me a lot. I mean, about all the different ways in which oysters are grown, all the different forms of aquaculture. And that's where I really did become an expert after reading a bunch of books that did start to finally come out about, what I would say the mission of New York Oyster Week, which was to celebrate the history, culture, cuisine, economy, and ecology of oysters in New York. And if you think about it, there's a history, culture, cuisine, economy, and ecology of oysters everywhere. Mm-hmm. So it's like as complicated and diverse and colorful a story as wine. And the consumers, the interested and interesting gourmand and Epicurean who's curious about food is insatiable for that information. For every kind of luxury food or delicacy and wines and it's just spirits, beer, just everything. So right. I've since come to realize that there's a lot more, like caviar, for example, and all the fish. There's a lot of stories to be told about that. So we started off by telling oyster stories, and now we're broadening that through this exercise, this experiment that is Raw Lab. So that's how I got to Sayville, and then my position as the oyster guru, oyster king. I was never comfortable with these expressions, but nobody had coined a phrase to describe my skill set, mm-hmm. which was and is, I think, fairly singular. So, there's lots of people that are experts in categories that can't produce an event to showcase what's interesting about that category, but they can write about it, mm-hmm. and that's lovely. This is going to be crude, but
go for it.
I think writing about food is like masturbating. Cooking it and eating it and serving it, making love.
Okay, actually,
we'll keep it clean.
No, I mean we can go. We can go X-rated.
So that's what I do, and I write about it, and I make videos about it. I mean, so that skill set, and we do catering, and we do private events, and right. So my skill set is a marketer, an evangelist, a chef, a scientist, a naturalist, a biologist, at least conversational, if not fluent, in many forms of aquaculture, because this is what I've focused on teaching myself for 15 years, because there isn't a lot of good information about it that's reliable. It's all over the place, and the consumer's curious, and there's a lot of fraud in seafood. So I'm trying to, and having some success in being a source for the truth. Okay. Not trying to be right, rather aligning myself with the truth through the scientific method, figuring out what is the truth, and then vetting it through that method. What's the variable, what's the result, what's the truth is the result, what is the control, mm-hmm. and then coming to that conclusion and presenting it to my guests here in Raw Lab as best I can. And so I'm not the waiter. Well, I am the waiter. I'm the waiter, bartender, chef, and
You're all
DJ.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say you're definitely a DJ.
The problem, the good thing is, like 12 people can look me in the eyes, and mm-hmm. and they can tell for themselves whether they think I'm telling them the truth or they think I'm telling them a story.
Right.
So, as you saw last night, there's a bunch of times where I'm saying, this is what I believe to be the truth.
Yes. And
you can look around a room and gauge 10 other people, 12 other people's expressions to see whether they think it's the truth or not. So I'm standing there naked telling you what I think is the truth, and I think it does reveal the truth in the end. And if nothing else, it gives you the chef in your lap for 4 hours that you can ask questions directly. Where do you source this from? Why is this better than something else? How is this different than what I get in the grocery store? And you're getting a look in the eye with my best answer that I think is as close to the truth as it can be. So that's part of the value proposition of this experience.
Yeah. So you started Raw Lab about 3.5 years ago.
Correct.
Like 2022-ish timeframe?
Middle of COVID, August 21, I moved to Charleston. Okay. By October, November, we were fiddling around in here.
In this space?
Yeah. It was bare. I built all this shit out. Like it's really filled in, but it was a pretty tabula rasa at that time, and I was friends and family for a hot minute, and then February 22, I opened and started with Open Table and moved to Resi, but Open Table and started taking reservations. And for a while, it was 2 people and 4 people and 2 people and 6 people, and I was like, I don't want to do it for 2 people.
Right. Then
I said to myself, no, you have to, because you're going to learn from them every night. What turns them on? Where do we get a response? What questions are they asking? What does the consumer want to know? And so I did it for a long time, and then it went tick, tick, boom.
Right.
I got a publicist for the first time. I paid a publicist.
Okay.
And we filled seats, and then it was like 90 days fully booked.
Yeah.
And then the downside of that was people thought, well, you can never get a reservation there. All the locals took the seats. So we were like 90% locals for a year and a half, and then 80%, and now it's about 70%.
Locals.
But we generally stay pretty full. I mean, we only have 12 seats 3 times a week, so it's 36 seats. I'm a slow lunch on a Monday at any restaurant.
Okay.
But, that's the point. I'm not a restaurant. I'm a raw bar. So what we did with this was I recognized that the way oyster service has been conducted and raw bar service has been conducted has reiterated the belief in people's minds that this food can only be an appetizer, number one. And it can be much more. As you saw last night, it's really truly a meal. Yes, it starts with appetizer type things like oysters and caviar, but then it moves into lobster bisque, right? So we're using the species that are common to raw bar service, but we're turning it into a meal. And so what we did here is I realized, I think oyster service in restaurants and raw bar service in restaurants leaves everything to be imagined. It's, no offense, completely broken. Leaves so much value on the table. Because of the way it works. You're at a table by yourself with whoever you're with. Waiter comes over, brings you the item, and walks away. They don't know much about it, or they know a little bit about it, that's fine. But once they're walked away, you can't ask them, how are these oysters grown?
Right.
What are these, as you saw, a million questions get asked. Mm-hmm. Because you are going to get an answer from the guy who is chucking them in front of you and cracking jokes at the same time. And so what we did is we recognized that everywhere you've ever had oysters is a seafood restaurant that also has a raw bar service or a raw bar program. And what we are is a raw bar program that eliminated the restaurant. Mm-hmm. So we're not distracted with 20 guys in the kitchen. We're not distracted with waiters. We don't need general managers or assistant general managers. We have Sandy and I. She assists.
She's great, by the way.
Presenting. She's the greatest. Sandy the hustle muscle.
She is. She was all over the place last night, behind the scenes.
Playing hurt, too. She had a neck shoulder problem. We've both been playing hurt for months now, but, it is what it is. That's what champions do, right, Sandy? They play hurt.
Well, I mean, so just back up a half a step.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say this. One of the things that you said last night that really resonated with me was you said there's a difference between eating and dining. And the way you talk through that, give a little more color on that, because that really that shot right through me.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it's one of my favorite things that this has taught me. You have to remember, like, while I'm edutaining my guests, I'm also learning what they respond to. I've learned so much. I mean, I've learned at least one little thing every night about anything. I've learned about using some insulation here. I've learned about what laminar flow is from an engineer. This was an engineer who told me how to insulate the raw bar. So many things, but one of them is I came to understand the difference between eating and dining. We all eat 3 times a day. It's probably the thing we do the most. And you have to eat. Dining is an elevated form of eating, and not every meal is a dining experience. Who has time for that, right? But what I noticed in this room was when you do have the time and take the time and spend the money for a dining experience, what differentiates it from eating is discovery. Mm-hmm. So the expression I use is the delta between eating and dining is discovery. That's as concisely as I can say it. I think it's crystal clear. Mm-hmm. If you're eating, you're filling your belly. That's great. You got to do that. We need the calories. You need the fat. You need the salt. You need the carbs. Dining is an an experience, and the quintessence of the experience is what are you discovering?
Mm-hmm.
Where I think we're different from the Michelin star restaurants, that there's a lot of discovery there, is that they've got 15 people in a big kitchen putting out amazing creations that are magnificent works of art that are, for lack of a better term, to the average diner and or even home chef, mystifying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow,
Yep.
how did they make that? I could never make that at home. And I take the opposite approach. That's very white collar, right? Very bougie, and mine is very blue collar, very approachable in that you can see we're sitting in front of it. I've got, what is that, 2.5 feet by 6.5 feet of a kitchen. Everything I serve to you is being made in that, prepped in there, and served to you from there. Your kitchen's bigger than that.
Yes.
I'm serving 12 people 10 courses. Are you inspired that you could do something similar to that for 6 people out of your kitchen at the end of the meal? That's the question I'm asking myself. Is my customer inspired or mystified? And so I hope we inspire them, because they can see that here you see every step, pretty much.
Well, I'm inspired. I can tell you. I mean, Amanda and I were talking about this. I'm going to go buy some graters. I'm going to go start throwing stuff around the kitchen. But really, kind of to your point, after you said that, I was thinking about some of the experiences that we've had together. And I'm not saying this to sound bougie or snooty, but so we've been to French Laundry. Amazing experience, but it wasn't educational, right? So amazing experience, but you have to go. It's one of the best restaurants on the planet, and we did, and it was amazing. So then I go to like Commander's Palace. I did the chef's table with Chef Meg Bidford, where she actually would come like explain every piece of the meal to you, and to me that was better than French Laundry. And then I came here, and you blew me away. Like, I think this was the most incredible dining experience, and I'm not saying this to blow smoke. I mean, this was. You can jump in here whenever you want. This is like the most incredible dining experience that I have ever had.
I appreciate it. I think that, I don't want to sound bougie or arrogant either, but I hear that most from people who've dined in places like that. The people that are most articulate and adamant about telling me that this is a fantastic or the best food experience that they've ever had, dining experience they've ever had, are the people who've actually been to places like French Laundry, Alinea,
Yep.
So... And it means the most to me because they have a perspective. A 24-year-old, that hasn't been to 30 of those places, may also be the best dining experience they ever had. But a 60-year-old who's lived on 3 continents and worked in 3 industries and dined at 16 Michelin star restaurants, when that person tells me, that was when it means something. The guy sitting on the corner the other night is the food and bev director for what's going to be a $2 billion hotel in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
He's here because his CEO came in a couple of weeks ago and said, you got to go visit this guy. You got to go eat with Kevin because I want to bring him to the hotel in Saudi. And this guy's dined. He's probably 65. He's run hotels and restaurants and resorts all around the world for 35 years. He's eaten everywhere. And he was like, full stop. Go in there on your way back to Riyadh. Go eat with him. And so...
Had he ever been here before?
No.
Okay.
No.
And by the end of the night, he was playing what instrument?
The big black instrument.
We'll get to that later.
I don't know what that's called, but...
Let's just call it the big black instrument. I mean, why not? We talked about masturbating and making love. Let's fold in the big black instrument, Kev. But so... Wow, what a great conversation so far. So one of the things, even before the experience started, so let's talk about, can we dive into the experience itself a little bit? Is that okay? I love the ground rules coming in, right? You were very explicit, but and I think for the right reasons, but hey, no day drinking, right? Don't come in hammered. Even Amanda said, she's like, the instructions say, I am going to collect you at 6:37, not 6:30, not 6:40.
Brown M&M. You know what that means?
No.
Van Halen, in their rider, had a line that said, we want a bowl of M&Ms on the table. Pick out all the brown ones. And when they walked in the dressing room, if they found brown M&Ms in the bowl of M&Ms, they would make the roadies go out and double-check all the rigging because they knew someone didn't read the rider. So it sticks out, right?
Yep.
And so 637... makes you go, what?
Yeah,
What?
well, that's what I did. I was like, what'd you say?
So if I said 6:30, it's like, well, is it 6? Is it 6:30? At 6:37, like that's when you need to be ready because you have to enter this room all together. You can't come stumbling in one at a time. There's no room for you to be in here while we're finishing prep, which takes us from 5:30. It's like from 5:30 to 6:37. It's one thing after another to get this ready, and then I go grab you, and then we all come in, and then you enter in an order. It's like a drill. But and it's really awkward, and I love watching people squirm in that moment. I love making people feel a little bit uncomfortable.
I was so nervous. I read that email probably. I read your website. I read the email. I read it like 3 times, and I was like, "What the heck?
It's not a power
are we
trip.
doing?"
It's intended to show you like this is a moonshot. You're going to another planet. You're not going to a restaurant. You're not having dinner. You need to be mentally prepared for uncomfortableness, awkwardness, vulnerability, being pointed at and laughed at by strangers out loud for failing to pour the Peroni properly. All kinds of things. You're going to be tested. Your character is tested in this room. And the reason for that is the use of space and all these things and the way the omakase style service all kind of force that. But I reinforce it because people, the most precious thing, I think one of the most precious things in life is finding experiences where it forces you to be present. We live in a world where we're no longer able to find a presence. We're distracted all the time. In a short attention span, immediate gratification world, presence has become more and more precious. So in articulating what this whole process was in the beginning, I came across a David Bowie quote. He said, always look to be in a place where your feet are just off the bottom. If your feet aren't just off the bottom, if you're not just out of your range, you can't create great art. When you're in a comfortable place, you're not creating good art. You're not. So I'm trying to get people to have their feet off the bottom, and then I want the wave to come down and have your feet back on them, and then I want you to be swept up off the bottom, and then I want you to come back to the bottom. So you saw that arc of those ups and downs and volume and rowdiness and stillness and movement all throughout. That's all very intentionally designed to entertain me and mess with people, to break them down to their core character, to reveal that, and to make them present. That's why it doesn't feel like 4 hours. It feels like I was thinking about this in the shower this morning. By 9 o'clock, people are just on the planet. The eagle has landed. At the second or third oyster, people are still looking around like, did I make a mistake? Am I going to like this? Is she going to like this? Is he going to like this? And by 9 o'clock, I think all the wine we drink have something to do with it.
Sure.
That's why I'd say no day drinking.
I would say one thing that was really neat to me is we walked in and we're all sitting in the courtyard together and nobody knows anybody, but you're about to go into this experience together and spend 4 hours together. So you're kind of like, who are these people? And are we going to get along? And you're a little uncomfortable, like you said.
You don't know which one you're going to sit next to.
Right, and we said that. We were like, who do you think we're going to sit next to? By the end of the night, we were like laughing and exchanging phone numbers, and everybody laughed like it was this experience where you brought 12 people who knew nothing about one another. I think maybe one couple did. But like together we all left like sharing something totally unique. It was the neatest thing to see happen throughout the night.
Well, I mean, you talk about vulnerability. You metaphorically like undress everyone, you know? And it's just like when you're all sitting around, I mean, not that we're all sitting around the table naked, but it's like we all knew what we didn't know, or at least I knew what I didn't know. Like when you started getting into the ins and outs of the complexities of the food that you were preparing, I was like, holy like I was intimidated. And I was captivated, and I just have to sit here.
Did you feel, when you say intimidated, that's an interesting choice of words. You ever been to a fine dining experience and the waiter speaks to you in such a way in describing a dish where like you feel like he or she thinks that you should have known that?
Sure.
Right, I'm trying to avoid that.
So that's not what I meant by intimidated.
Okay.
It was just more like I didn't feel like you were being condescending or talking down to anyone, but it was just like you just had this command and this presence
And knowledge.
and I just didn't want to miss anything that you were saying.
Yeah, I noticed you were paying close attention, and sometimes it's the people sitting next to you, they were on and off their phone, they were talking to each other, they weren't giving me the floor when it was
distracted.
obvious that I needed to have the floor, because I consider it my duty to make sure that the people that came that are super lean in, super curious, and really engaged, that they don't miss anything. And if somebody's really loud or needy with attention, it can take away from it. So I'm not afraid to tell somebody, hey, listen, these other 10 people in the you may not be that interested. That's cool. Keep it down, so don't be distracting, so they can get their value out of it. That's every other night. There's somebody that's just not as fully into it. Maybe they came with the wrong expectation. I go way out of my way with 1,000 words on my website to say, this may not be for you. Mm-hmm. This is not a restaurant. This is not eating. This is not fine dining. This is something else. Now, does that scare you away? Good. It wasn't meant to be for you. No problem. There's a restaurant over there that serves food from a menu with a waiter. And there's 1,000 of them in Charleston.
There are.
Yeah. But we're not that. Don't come expecting it. Don't look for, cocktails. I can't make cocktails. I don't have ice. Mm-hmm. And you're sharing this experience with everybody else. So it's a social experiment. This doesn't work for introverts, and it doesn't work for people who are attention hogs. And you have to share my time and attention with 11 other people. And when you are able to do that, it's so much more rewarding. Last night's crowd was really great. That one couple was a little distracting, but that didn't take it. It didn't break. It didn't break under that stress. It was minor. But beyond that, people were really attentive to each other. Mm-hmm. And to what I was saying and to their reactions. So the thing that people don't realize if they haven't been here is that everyone is getting the same dish at the exact same moment, and it's going in their mouth at the exact same time. So as you're chewing that thing, you're looking around the room to see what is their reaction. What are they experiencing? Mm-hmm. And that's uncommon. That's actually, I don't know, that's maybe unprecedented in dining. Because there's not a lot of spaces in the world that have a U-shaped bar where you can face each other and you're all eating the exact same thing, literally to the nanosecond at the same time. Especially the caviar.
We want to get into the caviar trip, but this is really like a theater in the round. It is a very intimate space, but you're right. It's like it all lands at the same time, and you're all experiencing it together at the same time, and it's almost like you're all in it together, and you're all encouraging other. We can get to the the drinking part. What was that thing called that we drank out of?
The Perone.
The Perone. But I felt like everyone was like encouraging other, like, come on, you got this. You can drink out of this.
Yeah,
Perone.
Actually, and even when you fuck up and people laugh out loud, I mean, that's part of why you need to be an extrovert. You need to be able, even interested in, certainly willing to fail at something. That's an example. That's really asking a lot of people. Some people will pass and not do it because they're intimidated by it. Did you?
I did.
That's right. I mean, the downside...
She was the only one that passed on the Perone last night.
I cheered for everyone else.
There's one every night.
She
the Perone is what you drink chocolat from in the Basque region, so I teach people how to do that because I encourage everybody to go visit San Sebastian or the Basque Country in their life because it's the Valhalla of seafood and pinchos of Europe. I mean, it's the birthplace of pinchos, which is like tapas. Mm-hmm. And you got to go there. First, watch Anthony Bourdain's 1 or 2 episodes about San Sebastian and then go. And if you're at the right party, you'll be handed a Perone, and it will be full of red wine, and you will spill it all over yourselves unless you know what you're doing. So herein lies a reason to learn to use it and have fun with it in this environment where 12 people can fuck it up and... mess up and,
there was some spillage
and nail it.
Yeah.
Well, some people can really nail
by my
it.
second time, I think I had a pretty good handle on it.
They're good.
Well, as far as the presentations that you did last night, do those change? Or like last night, for example, you said, I've never done these scallops before. So like how much is consistent and how much changes or from night to night?
This entire thing requires the diner to understand that they're going to give up a bunch of things in order to get a bunch of other things. Some of the things that you give up are a menu to choose from. Another thing that you give up is a menu that changes every week, every month, every season. I'm very deliberate about what I call playing the hits. An actual chef gave me good advice before I opened this. He said, write pop songs, play the hits.
That's great.
So what we created for dishes in here that work, that I get like people going, oh yeah, that was great. I found the right order. I found a way to choreograph it. I found a way to train Sandy to bring me the things and take away the things that I need in the right exact, like to the second, because there's no room back there. I can't line up everything I need and then pull from it as I need it. As you saw, things come, things go, things come, things go. Food, tools, all kinds of things. That's all highly choreographed, mostly to the music, which is our cue, right?
Yes.
So we have 9 soundtracks for different courses. We change
I knew
the
it.
music. Yeah. Well, you're going to get a text today with
Okay.
a link to all the playlists. So,
I want the James Brown.
oh, you got it all.
Okay.
You're going to see how you get it. All of our playlists are public, so you have them. You already have them all. You don't know it, but
Okay.
I'm going to make it easy for you. So, what was the original question? I drifted off there.
No, actually, I was going to say, if it's cool, if we could talk about some of the different courses.
Oh, the dishes.
I mean, some of the
Yeah.
different dishes. I mean, I can just tell you.
Well,
I don't want to play favorites, but you want to talk about pop hits. Like one of my favorite presentations was the James Brown lobster Caesar salad. Everything you did with that dance and just the squeezing the lemons
Yeah.
and the grating of the Parmesan cheese, the James Brown lobster Caesar salad might have been my highlight.
It's so stupid that it's kind of funny to some people. Other people find it to be. I got a
loved it.
1-star review on Google the other day where they said too showy.
Oh my gosh, it was
I'm
fantastic.
like, exactly. It's fucking ridiculous. I got a 10-square-foot kitchen. I can't make really extremely complicated stuff. I can buy the best proteins, the best salmon, the best shrimp, the best scallops. I can buy that. Am I going to turn making a lobster Caesar into a bit of a show with the music? Yeah, because it's self-deprecating. I'm not that chef that takes himself seriously. I'm not looking for a Michelin star. There is no raw bar category for James Beard Award, which
Right.
is the stupidest thing in the world. I'm saying that out loud. Why
Don't
don't
worry,
they?
they don't follow
why
me.
don't they recognize that? Like that raw bar is a category. They have cocktail bar.
Yeah.
They have
There's so many
anyway,
different categories, but not
whatever. So anyway, why not make people? I'm a stand-up culinarian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to feed you delicious and nutritious food of the highest caliber and to make you laugh and engage with other people in the room so you walk out exchanging phone numbers. Rob and Andrew and Nicole, they all wound up at Henry's last night till 1:30 in the morning
That's
drinking.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, they're alcoholics, obviously. If you need to go out drinking after this.
Well, it's yeah. No, it's. I told him I was kind of like I rode the governor a little bit last night because I really wanted to experience everything. And I'll just say this: it wasn't the James Brown Caesar that was my favorite flavor profile. It was just the whole presentation of the James Brown Caesar. So what was your favorite part of last night?
I would say I came in here as like a never had caviar. I was one of the
Caviar
ones that
virgin.
I raised
Wow.
my hand when you asked, right?
You have been healed, child.
Well, now, I mean, I think this is going to be impossible for me to ever have it again. Like, if I
Yeah,
had
as good as you
caviar
had it here,
for the
yeah.
first time anywhere else and not had you do that whole experience with it, I don't think I would have ever appreciated it the way that I was able to last night. It was the craziest thing. You had me closing my eyes tasting caviar on this trip, talking about like Parmesan cheese, and I was in it with you, and I was like, I taste it. I get it. It was so cool.
I don't want to spoil that for people that listen to this, but I will say this. Nobody's been taught how to enjoy caviar to its greatest potential. And that's why people say, I don't get it. What's the big deal? It's been ruined with caviar, with creme fraiche and bellinis and potato chips, which get in the way of your taste buds and handicap your ability to find its nooks and crannies and all its delicate little phases. You saw 5 distinct phases in 75 seconds. I walked you through that
Yeah.
because you held it in a place in your mouth and you thought about certain things and you became still and you closed your eyes, and I made you do that, and I won't really tolerate anybody who disrupts that because they're taking what you just said away from you if they're over there yapping while you're trying to go to another plane. That's why I called it a trip, because I'm intentionally sort of hypnotizing you and putting you in a bit of a trance. That's why I say, before that, everyone's laughing and yelling and jumping and through the trees like monkeys. That's monkey brain. To get the caviar trip, you need to go to lizard brain. That's sitting in the sun on a rock, still, right? So sometimes you have to slow down to 1 heartbeat a second and just be still to get something. And that's really hard in the modern world, and it's really hard in a room with 12 people. But I've recently decided that I'm just going to say there are no exceptions to this. You're going to give me your full and undivided attention. It's going to be very awkward. You're going to hate this until 80 seconds after you put this in your mouth and you hear what I tell you while it's in your mouth. Then you're going to be changed forever. And I've never had anyone be like, that wasn't worth my attention for 90 seconds. Mm-hmm. Never heard that, and I've done this for 8,000 people. So that's called the caviar trip. That's one of what I call the 5 pillars of Raw Lab, which I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, hit it.
Going back to your thing about the dishes, there's 2 culinary lanes here. One is whole, live, raw, bioavailable. Your waiter isn't talking to you about the nutrient density of your food. They're talking about how delicious it is. Restaurants make things delicious with lots of fat and lots of salt. I'm talking about the nutrient density. I'm talking about which sea salts we're using, which have nutrients in them, minerals specifically. I'm showing you how easy it is to get your hands on that and eat in a more nutrient way, dense way at home, or when you dine out at other restaurants. And I'm not like a restaurant that uses extra salt to make you thirsty, so you order more drinks. I'm using the right amount of salt so you can taste it, but I'm not asking you to buy more drinks because it's included, right? So whole, live, raw, bioavailable is one kind of part of the food ethic. The other is marine cuisine. So marine cuisine is the pillar that refers to is it the safest, healthiest, most sustainable, most responsible choice? Is it also the most delicious, highest quality choice in that category? Those scallops are above category. They're beyond sushi grade. They're singular for reasons which we won't go into here, but I explained last night. Mm-hmm. And I take that 30 seconds, and I see people lean in, look at me like this, and really try and absorb it. And then I see other people talking to each other, and that's okay. They're not interested in that. But if so I tend to direct my attention and my voice to those that I can see leaning in. So marine cuisine is a way of evaluating which species and which aquacultural processes and fishing practices are the best. And where we use aquaculture product, we're looking for bleeding edge, vanguard aquaculture techniques that deliver a product that's superior. Salmon is an example of that. Mm-hmm. Basically, all oysters are an example of that. But our farm salmon is superior to almost all other farm salmon because of the where and how it's grown, and that's new in the last 5 to 10 years. And what does that mean and why? We didn't really get into that last night, but sometimes I do. It really, really matters. The problem with this sometimes, too, is you start to realize 6 courses in, oh, I can't buy this at the grocery store. But you're still going to learn something. There are places you can buy some of these products. You can certainly buy caviar, and more. It's not about the caviar. It's about knowing what to do with it. Mm-hmm. That it creates the elevated experience and gives you all of the reward of what is the most dynamic food on the planet. It's the technique, not the product. As Lance Armstrong used to say, it ain't the bike. It's the drugs, but no.
It's a steroid.
It's the EPO. Yeah. Marine cuisine, caviar trip, those are 2 pillars. Another pillar is the sea salt complex. Yes. We're using sea salts from all around the world, from all throughout time. Sea salt is one of the only things you can eat that has all 84 trace minerals, essential minerals, and electrolytes. And you can use, conveniently buy, use, store, and consume sea salts that are 500 million, 400 million, 300 million, 200 million, 100 million, and years old from ancient extinct oceans. And you can also consume sea salts that are from modern living oceans. And you can mix that up in everything you eat, and you can get all of those minerals and all of those electrolytes from all throughout history, all throughout the history of this planet. That's metaphysical.
Yes.
That's a pillar of Raw Lab. And we explore that. We talk about that. That and the caviar trip are the two things that I see people's faces change. I see a stillness come over people that is uncommon because they're processing something and they're looking at me like I'm looking at you right now. Like, you can see their drift. They're in another place. They're in a trance. And I'm just fortunate enough to have found a way to use a space and deliver a product and service and experience that affords people the opportunity to achieve that plane of consciousness. And it's mostly by accident, so that I don't sound too self-aggrandizing. This was an experiment. I didn't think it would work. I knew I did special stuff that made people's eyebrows go up with oysters. That's it. That's all I knew. The rest I made up live in front of people with their feedback over 6-8 months, and then I realized, I got this, and then I polished it, and then we found sea salt. That whole epiphany happened. So sea salt complex, caviar trip, the oyster flight.
Yes.
Where we have a control, which is the same oyster, 6 accoutrements, 6 dressings, toppings, treatments. Everyone's eating the same exact oyster, dressed, topped, or treated the exact same way at the exact same moment, and comparing their experience with not just the person they came with, but with the other 11 people in the room. They're finding their favorite. They're debating that. That is, I will sound vainglorious when I say this, but it's undebatable. It is the finest oyster service in the history of the world by many magnitudes.
Yes.
When was the last time you saw 86 oysters shucked for 12 people live, each dressed identically, each shared at the same moment with everybody, and fresh grated horseradish, fresh grated wasabi rhizome, cold smoked oysters, paired with wines that are perfect pairings, and music that's perfectly paired to it too, and a rowdy light show at the end that gets everyone literally cheering. Like, people, I get I get ovations in this room, and it's like, wow, these people are that happy that they're like cheering and yelling, and like the next minute I'm like, okay, now let's go to lizard brain.
Well, when you started grating wasabi on what's the
Oroshiki stingray skin?
Stingray skin. When you started grating wasabi on stingray skin. And you even made the comments, like, you've all, and you grated fresh horseradish and lemon, like, you all probably had this, but have you ever had this? And you start grating wasabi on a stingray skin and serve it with lime? I was like, what the hell? And then the mignonettes that you whipped out, I was like, oh my God.
Well, not only that, but you told us how to actually enjoy the oyster,
Oh, yeah.
how to correctly
yes.
consume it with the pairing of the wine and smelling and the sipping
Again,
and then the chewing.
That's a process of understanding how your mouth works, how your palate works, how your enzymes work. And it's about aligning yourself with the truth, not about being right. So this experiment affords me the opportunity to say things to a group of 12 strangers and to see which of those things that I say makes them go like, nod their head like yes. And which of them give me a blank stare. And which of them go, I don't, or turn to and do that and whisper something. They're not in agreement with me. So if that's if that's the entire group, what I'm saying doesn't resonate. I'm either not saying right or it's not the truth. Mm-hmm. And you do that 800 times, and you start to get a really good idea of what the truth is and where the reward for the customer is. And so understanding how to explain to somebody how to get the most out of an oyster, instead of saying, you've been doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. That's not the right way to approach it. What I say is, I found it to be there to be a technique for experiencing an oyster that gives me exponentially more enjoyment and appreciation from it. And that process and technique is this. Let's try it. And everyone tries it, and everyone turns and looks at each other and goes, holy shit, I've never chewed an oyster before
Right.
like 20 times, and I never noticed the mineral evolution. Or whatever, whatever their epiphany in the moment is. But everyone leaves this room changed for how they're going to experience oysters everywhere they go for the rest of their life, because the truth is vetted by everyone in the room, not what I say. What I say starts off the conversation, and then it's tested for an hour, and then the consumer comes to the conclusion that that is a better way to do it. Not that I was right, but that is a better... I got more out of that. I'm going to change how I think about oysters. I'm going to change how I consume oysters, and I'm going to consider oysters to be more valuable, because now I get more from them. Mm-hmm. And that's my goal. Making all these foods more valuable, because they're expensive and getting more expensive. And when you're serving food at the seafood at the highest level, it's really expensive. Mm-hmm. So this is the gap that I think is being missed, which is hurting the industry, which is finding ways to show the value of these really, really, really expensive things to the consumer. And you can't do that in the traditional restaurant model. You can deliver a delicious dish, beautifully made with fine product, but you can't have a 4-hour conversation with those consumers about each of the things they ate, because you're a waiter and you got 4 other tables, or you're a chef and you're on the line.
Right.
But this model affords us that opportunity, and it just creates layer upon layer of value for the consumer that they can take with them in how they shop for product that they cook at home or how they order in restaurants going forward. And that's the delta.
Yeah. Well, I'm a believer, and I was actually... We were on a boat this morning. We went to the farm where you source your oysters from, or at least the oysters from last night. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I already have 3 of my friends, Harris, Ryan, and Eddie. They're already like, we were planning. I was texting them, planning a trip back here. I know we're running short on time, but you are going to, believe me, you're going to see us again. I'm going to come back here with Sweaty Eddie Harris, and no one's going to be drunk before they walk in the door. We are going to be drunk when we leave.
I don't dissuade people from 2.5 to 5 milligrams of a gummy bear.
No, we'll
that'll make you social when you walk in the door.
You said edibles are okay.
Appropriately timed, I think edibles are fine. The problem with alcohol is it does affect your appetite, whether you want to believe that or not, and whether you think you can handle your alcohol or not. I don't care. The biological facts are, it will affect your appetite and your interest in eating, which then may make your attention drift, or sometimes I've found that people will make a comment or say something that offends somebody else in the room, and now there's friction. And I've got to take time to assuage that friction between them or between me and the person who said something inappropriate. And then that becomes a distraction, and that is a disservice to everyone else in the room. So it's just better not to. And as you noticed, you don't leave the room wanting for wine,
right,
which is the other pillar of Raw Lab, which is wine travel. So instead of 3 or 4 different wines in a full glass pour, I'm giving you, I think last night we opened 16 or 17 different wines from all throughout the world. So you're taking what we call, you're experiencing what we call wine travel. So the wine service is an entirely different model. 17 small pours of 17 different wines, to me, is more interesting than 4 glasses of wine.
Absolutely.
And I can play
100%.
with little nooks and crannies, and I can go to weird places like getting amber wine from Slovenia and fizzy Chilean rosés and pet nats.
I love the
that
fizzy
wine.
Chilean rosé.
Yeah.
And like in your explanation of the round with the sharp flavors and
I want to say thank you guys for giving me this platform and for being that customer. You're the prototypical customer. Interesting, interested, well-traveled, well-fed, engaged and engaging, respectful of other people's time, fully participant to the process, and open-minded to an entirely different use of space, and a fusion of a service style and a cuisine. This can be very challenging for some people, and that's why I'm so articulate about dissuading people on our website from, this isn't going to be white linen fine dining. It's priced that way, because that's the product I'm using is the best of the best. It's going to be fun. It's going to be rowdy at moments. It's going to be quiet at moments. It's going to be introspective. It's going to be extrospective. It's going to be monkey brain 1 minute, lizard brain the next. And that's a roller coaster that makes you present, and that's the gift. So thank you for being the prototypical, customer that I seek. You're in my tribe.
Yeah.
And the privilege I've been able to create for myself by writing the play, directing the play, starring in the play, is I get to hang with my tribe. Because the people that have liked this have gone out and told their friends it's awesome.
Yep.
And the people that don't like this have gone out there and have told their friends this sucks. And so there's those people who frankly suck. Their friends who also suck don't come here.
Right.
Leaving seats for you, which is fantastic.
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
Before we go, we do have a gift that we
thank
want to
you.
give you. Amanda, would you like to do the presentation of the gifts? You get to
This is
pick.
why I come.
Yes, this is
just
why
for
you
this.
Oh, nice. I
So
will
we
wear it
noticed
tonight.
last night you love a trucker hat. So
Yeah.
fortunately on Retire Southern,
I'm all about olive.
any
right there in
guest
the
of
middle.
Southern character, you get to pick your hat. So green and black, is that
Awesome.
you?
That is me.
Okay,
I
that
love
is the
that one.
campfire.
That'll look good with my chef's coat, which, as you saw, is like
Yeah.
olive color.
Nice. It goes with everything. Thank you for listening to Southern Character. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it and follow us wherever you podcast. You can also check out our website and socials, retiresouthern.com, for more great content and merch. If you have any questions or feedback, email me, james@retiresouthern.com. Kevin, again, man, we had a wonderful time. I cannot wait to come back and do this all over again.
Hopefully, I'll still have his hat.
I hope you did. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.